Welcome from spirit to spirit. This is the third of our 6 readings for our 3-day immersion next weekend. The greater works and the higher mysteries is what we are really deeply exploring, immersing in, and embodying here. The title of this exploration is The Mechanics. When you come to the place of recognition, and by that I mean when you have actually accepted the fact that the universe is under the direct control of a power designated as God or life, and not subject to the limiting laws of evil belief, then you will see that before the chicken or egg, before the flower or seed, is a power which conceived the thing in its totality. The supposed evolution from the invisible to the visible is only the sluggish action of the human thought, trying to account for everything through the elements of time and space. An idea does not have to be worked out in the universal mind. As in the single grain of wheat lies the substance which eventually sustains a whole army of people. By a somewhat slow process of growth, so wrapped up in every idea is not only the means of expression itself, but the complete expression in its entirety. This is a really significant point. It is by looking at a single grain of wheat, putting it through the limiting processes of human estimation, and then pitting the findings against the power of consumption of the army of people, that man comes to a full stop and says that it cannot be done, or that if it is possible, there is such a great time lag which intervenes between the single grain of wheat and the thousands of loaves of bread necessary to sustain the mob, that it is hopeless to expect anything from that source. This may be true and reasonable from the limited human concept. It is merely used as an illustration of comparative sizes. An idea as small, symbolically speaking, as the grain of wheat has within it the substance sufficient to fill the greatest cavity of human belief, not by a slow process of evolution from the invisible to the visible, but by sudden, instant recognition of the allness everywhere. How it will come into manifestation is not known to man, not even the Son, but the Father knoweth. The Son of you, in this respect, might be judging from appearances, and in a matter waiting for something to take place, might be speculating on how it could take place. The Master, recognizing this, knew that if the Son conceived the thing as complete and finished and rested in it, the mechanics of how it would appear would take care of themselves, and the idea would have within it the means of bringing itself into full expression. Take no thought is the command. After having laid carefully before the mind the fact that taking thought could not add 1 cubit to one's stature, and asking the pungent question, if you cannot do that which is least by taking thought, why do you try to change the eternal ideas? Man is beginning to see that all the thought in the world is not going to change the eternal laws of the universe. Nothing shall be added to, and nothing taken away from, that which is all, in all, as all. By this sensing of the eternal facts of the universe, the feeling of perfection and completeness of the idea in its entirety becomes a constant experience. Out of the chaos of the night of belief, in the blackest mire of human thought, man conceives light, and suddenly the darkness is absorbed. It has disappeared, and the experience not only seems to have been a dream, but actually has been a dream, a semi-conscious state, or as we often say, simply ignorance which is resolved in awareness. The experiencing of any evil is but a semi-conscious state, or ignorance. Man is conscious of some action, but his interpretation through his belief in separation causes him to experience what is termed evil. Evil has no real existence. It's simply ignorance. It is well. if conceived as a reality, will set everything right in your universe, everything wonderfully, perfectly right. How? I know not. I'm not concerned. It is so. Believest thou this? It cannot be reasoned out. All the human intellect in the world cannot explain how you can be prospered and yet have no increase of symbols or things, but the use of the invisible substance of the all. The unseen substance is part of that which eye hath not seen, but it is there, and man senseth it. It is not necessary for him to have an outward sign. He finds that he has in reality experienced the use of substance, done things, gone to places, expressed himself, and actually his bank account has not had more symbols of dollars and cents. So he finds eventually that his acceptance is pushed to a point of accomplishment. Only speak the word, and we'll spend so much of our 3 days together really grasping this idea that is only speak the word. What all of humanity wishes desperately to know, the manifestation of perfection, of fulfillment, of divine satisfaction. A word of itself would do nothing. Peace, peace, and there is no peace, is a fine illustration of what the empty word may accomplish. And that is what everyone who believes themselves to be separate or person experiences. Empty words. The living word, the word of God, is not clothed in any language at all. 100 men, all speaking different languages, would understand the living word, whereas merely hearing the different noises made by one another to represent what the word is would be a veritable Tower of Babel, as we like to laugh at. Come, awake. A new day dawns, so far removed from the trying to make things happen by jabbering words at God. What have all the words accomplished? What have all the words accomplished? How often have you pleaded with God, begged, beseeched, beaten at the gates of heaven, and been turned away empty? Thousands are awaiting in the desert for drink that you alone can supply through the new plane of recognition. You can give only that which they have already, as it might be said that Jesus gave life to Lazarus by calling his attention to the entirety of life, and man became a living soul. Everything into which the breath of the living word is breathed becomes a living manifestation of God, apart from which there is nothing. Breathing the breath of life into a man-I festation is only another way of stating the power of recognition or revelation of the self. It is a far cry from the glorious truth, ye shall decree a thing, and it shall come to pass, to the how to have prosperity, health, and success by rattling off a lot of words in tempo or out of tempo. Prove me, and see if I shall not open windows in heaven and pour out a blessing ye cannot receive, as we're all experiencing and expanding into. There is a very precise way, a narrow way, and it may even seem that it gets more precise, and that's precisely why we're here immersing for 72 hours straight. You will see that the me is the Christ within your consciousness that is to be proven, and that the windows of heaven must also be in your consciousness. For heaven is a state of consciousness, a state of self-expression or revelation. The blessing that is to descend to the Jesus is then directly out of the consciousness of Christ, not in some far-off locality, not something that has to be made to appear out of the skies or through some strange treatment. Prove it you cannot until you become fully convinced of the presence of the power of God, life, everywhere, complete and whole, merely waiting recognition. Then the ideas containing in themselves the complete expression will, to what the human sense appears, evolve into manifestation. But the whole thing, The how, why, when, and where is in the now and is done at the instant the recognition is made. So I might pause just for a moment and point you to our work in now as now. Now is not a point in time sandwiched between before and after. Now is indissolubly, indivisibly one with the constants that I am. Man has nothing further to do with the proposition, but to lend himself as an instrument, a willing instrument, to bring about the manifestation through the beliefs of time and space. There is, therefore, no concern about the outcome. It is sure, and it is certain, and has not one chance of not appearing. For in reality, it is already there, invisible to the double eye. That's the eye that is misidentified as person, as human, not in truthful being, but plainly visible to the single eye of the I am. So we'll be really learning how to see, really standing in that primary point of the allness, the everythingness, the one. Believest thou this? Do you think it possible with this God power, or will you still interpose a lot of traditional ideas and things that you have gained from going up and down and to and fro in the universe of changing, shifting belief? Yes or no? Either you do or do not. No middle ground is possible. The absolute is absolute. All or nothing. God is and is all. Or you have two powers, and suffering seems possible, and death seems inevitable, neither of which have any existence whatsoever. They're all part of the dreamscape, all part of the illusion that has no foundation in reality. What is the good of trying to fence with the idea any longer? If your eye is double to evil and good, then you cannot expect to experience the power of the Christ. Evil seems more real than good to most people because they actually have accepted it as so, although they emphatically deny it. The least thing that happens to them, they exclaim, just my luck. Not that the exclaiming of this means anything. It is the accepted power back of it. What's behind that? The mere words would mean nothing to a Frenchman. In fact, a whole string of negative words would mean nothing to him unless they were in French. We must get back of the symbol. A gramophone record has no power in its word, any more than the praying machines used to in the Orient. Be still. Stop trying to tell me what to do. Stop trying to arrange the outcome of things. Be still. Be still. Accept the unspeakable word of life, which shapes in your mind as it is well now, and lend yourself a wholly willing servant to perform the mechanics, if any be necessary, to bring this idea into manifestation. Do you hear? God is, you are, it is well now. Get that woven into the fibre of your mind, and glorious melodies, complete symphonies will be played across the strings of your heart, and you will become so busy appropriating the glories of heaven here and now that you will neither have time nor need of demonstrating the power. It will be a continuous manifestation of one glory after another, living life as it is meant to be, the glorification of God. From glory to glory, from revelation to revelation, not in the impractical, intangible, emotional way, but actually the Word made flesh, the actual, tangible manifestation in daily life. We will walk one of the few together, fully fulfilled, completely satisfied. You will be found walking in the garden, your garden, gathering fruits and flowers where you will, not as a special favor for a few moments, after which you are to be turned out again in the desert of human experiences, but as air owner, one who appropriates that which is. Jesus came and stated the nothingness of time and space. 1,000 years is as a day, and vice versa. Instantly, he was on the other side, disappeared when in crowds. Dare you to think on these things? Not as a glutton who would consume the food in order to show his size, not as one who wishes personal power, but as one who travels alone into his own kingdom of self-expression and finds it normal and natural. Note those words, normal and natural. Perfection, wholeness, completeness, satisfaction, harmony, natural, normal, as well as convenient, to be possessed of these powers. Be still. If I could not tell you everything in Jerusalem because you could not bear it, I shall not always withhold it from the ears of those who are ready, as we are here. You're graduates of the greater works, and now we're in the higher mysteries. We're living this, but not many are ready to hear this. I shall not always withhold it from the ears of those who are ready and who have washed their robes clean from all this self-seeking and this attempting to shout, "Look at me, I am holier than thou. Let me show you my bag of metaphysical tricks." Come away. Be still. Leave your nets. You cannot catch many fish anyway until you know that the substance is there in its entirety. And you have only to accept it to find the nets breaking, overflowing with manifestation. Not for show. Not for show, beloved. Not for talk. Do you hear? Be still. Be still. Be still. It is well. Fear not. Everything is all right. Do you hear? This word now. You. In the twinkling of an eye it is done, so quick that the flurried human thought has no time to flash an answer. So overpowered and bowled over is his reasoning that he exclaims, "A miracle!" Some supernatural work at power, and we all know that's not the case. What difference what he calls it, or how he tries to explain it? He has to admit that it made itself manifest, not through his best accepted chain of laws, but actually in spite of them, and that those best and finest laws that he has conceived for himself have been completely ignored. Why will you examine into the human laws to find out whether it is possible for me to express? Fold up your tent and steal silently away from the noise and clatter. I have something to say to you alone. I have something to show you, something to make your heart so full that it shall run over into the whole universe. It is wonderful. Do you hear? You, do you hear? You make and break all human law. It has no basis. A traffic law in one town may be broken in the next, while fulfilling the laws of that city. It is nothing but a human limitation. If it were an absolute law, it would be the same forever, everywhere, and breaking it would automatically produce results. This is true of all the laws of sickness, poverty, and evil. Be still. I have much to say to you. When you are ready and willing, I will perform the works in such a beautiful, easy, natural, and normal manner. Even now as I write this, speak this, share this. Even now as you read this, hear this. Even as you now hold the finished manifestation in your hands, hear the words. So I hold it finished and complete in consciousness, and am going through the mechanics of belief to bring it into manifestation and to bring it into your hands. Do you begin to see? Do you begin to hear between the lines the message that I cannot put on the lines because of the limitations of belief? Put them all down. Be still. Be still. It is so. It is well with you now. Really resting with this, praying on the truth. Remember that contemplation is self-recognition. And our final readings that will be our deep immersion and exploration for next week are all dedicated to the higher mysteries. These are precious. These are uncommon, not to be found many places at all. Rest with this. Be still.